How do you feel about CCTV cameras in care home bedrooms? Well, a campaign has been launched to change the law and allow relatives to keep an eye on their loved ones. Tony Stowell from Hull has shared this footage of his mum in a care home. Some of you might find this upsetting.
Just got to see my mum. Yeah, nobody here, curtains shut. 11:15, nobody about. No one-to-one, nobody. Mum left in bed. No one-to-one. Curtains shut. This isn't the care we said.
Well, our Yorkshire and Humber reporter Kevin Larkin is in Hessle near Hull for us. Kevin, this is extremely distressing, isn't it?
Absolutely, Nana. How can you not fail to be moved by that footage? It's really difficult to watch and see Antonia Stowell in that position, struggling. And I think one of the important things that her son Tony wants to raise about that footage is his mum was entitled to a one-to-one carer who should have been with her during that period. So the fact she was on her own is quite a big deal in that, let alone the fact that it was 11:15 on a Saturday morning and she was still in bed. She hadn't been washed, she hadn't been dressed, the curtains were drawn, the room was a bit messy and not in the best of states. And I think all of us can just relate to that on a human level. You know, when we love our parents, we want to make sure they're getting the care that, you know, you expect when you put them into a care home.
I mean, deeply distressing footage there, Kevin. And many of us have obviously or have got relatives in care homes. I certainly have. This will strike a chord with many people out there, and you know, many people, I'm sure, I know, have wanted CCTV in bedrooms in care homes before. So this is surely going to be very much welcomed.
Yeah, so the law would work, Kirsty, by essentially giving the resident of the care home in the room the right to have a CCTV camera in that room. So that would then allow family members to just check in on them, check they're doing okay, have a look at the room and so on. It's a bit trickier where the person in the room doesn't have the mental capacity to be able to say yes or no. So in Antonia Stowell's case, she had dementia, so it would have been harder in that case for her to be able to get the CCTV. In that instance, it would have been the case that she would have had to, the family would have had to petition a deputy at the Court of Protection who acts as the voice for those vulnerable people in there. But it's led to this huge campaign by Antonia's son Tony, and I asked him what his mum would make of that campaign.
Oh, no, I know my mum and how we were very similar. I know what my mum, she would want this to be everywhere. She was an angel, my mum, and I know she's protecting me now and guiding me. My mum wouldn't want anyone to be hurt. She would help anyone.
I mean, that's so tragic, isn't it?
Well,
sorry, Kevin, carry on. What were you going to say?
Sorry, I was just going to say, so the campaign is now moving down towards Parliament. Tony's MP, Emma Hardy, the MP for Hull West and Hessle, she is going to present a petition on this very soon. We believe it might be next week to start the ball rolling and get this law changed. I know obviously there's a big discussion about the rights of carers in this. You know, obviously they could not be happy at being filmed. The law sort of proposes two alternatives for that. One is that essentially the rights to have these cameras is mandated in law and it's just a part of their employment and they just have to deal with that. Or the second option is a bit softer, where it would allow carers to turn the cameras on and off when they're performing what they call designated tasks, so washing them or dressing them and so on, which might be more of a compromise option. But obviously it's about to start going through Parliament, and we might see some changes in the near future.
Yeah, we hope so.
Yeah, we hope so. So, Kevin, are you just basically saying that if the staff, there is a slight opposition from the staff to have the cameras in these care homes?
Well, it depends on how it goes, Nana, because Tony, as part of his campaign, has spoken to many carers, and actually quite a few have said actually they support that idea. But of course, you know, we all have different views on how we'd feel if a camera was watching our jobs and how we're doing. It's also interesting to consider the effect on care homes more generally. Obviously, most of them are private businesses. They've had a very tough time during the pandemic and struggled financially. It's, you know, it's a very tough sector financially to make a profit from, and the impact potentially of relatives having cameras in the homes, and potentially could this lead to a flood of legal claims where relatives aren't happy or they're seeing things that shouldn't be going on, and what impact would that have on the care sector going down the line? Now, Tony Stowell did meet with the government. They met with former Health Secretary Matt Hancock to discuss the plans, and Tony believes he got a very warm response from Matt Hancock, but of course all attention now moves to his successor Sajid Javid to see what the government will do, as I say, when this goes through Parliament, possibly next week.
OK then. Kevin, thank you very much indeed, and we also thank Tony for sharing that footage as well. It is a very distressing subject, this. And,
well, we contacted the 6 care homes involved, and they either didn't come back to us or said that they couldn't talk about individual cases, but in a joint statement, Hull Clinical Commissioning Group and Yorkshire Clinical Commission Group said, "We take safeguarding concerns very seriously and would strongly encourage anybody who is worried about a vulnerable adult to report this in order to allow a full investigation to be undertaken as needed and to help prevent further risk of harm or abuse."
And the Department of Health and Social Care said this: abuse of any kind, especially against vulnerable people in care, is abhorrent, and we are determined to stop it. Where the CQC has concerns, they'll take action through their robust inspection regime to ensure people are safe. Tough inspections aim to ensure abuse is caught and dealt with, and the government has made sure that across the country, the police councils and NHS are working together to help protect vulnerable adults from abuse or other types of exploitation. Any kind of surveillance must consider the privacy, though, and dignity of those it seeks to record.